Paliwanag si Apollo Quiboloy through his counsel kung bakit hindi siya dapat arestuhin. We, including my legal team, immediately read through and assessed the documents carefully, mindful of due process for the accused, but also with a view to ensuring that the Senate as an institution is protected from dilatory tactics of parties. Isa pong naging maliwanag sa aming pag-review. His explanation is nowhere near satisfactory. They did nothing but rehash previous arguments they made for not attending our Senate hearings. Una, on whether or not the investigation is in aid of legislation. Section 19 of the Senate Rules and Procedures in investigations in aid of legislation states very clearly, Section 19, privilege against self-incrimination. Quote, a witness can invoke his right against self-incrimination only when a question which tends to elicit an answer that will incriminate him is propounded to him. However, he may offer to answer any question in an executive session. No person can refuse to testify or be placed under oath or affirmation or answer questions before an incriminatory question is asked. His invocation of such right does not by itself excuse him from his duty to give testimony, close quote. Mas malinaw pa sa sikat ng araw, dito pa lang tapos na dapat ang usapan. Kung sumabaybay siya sa aming pagdinig, ilang beses ko din pong inulit-ulit yung mga areas for additional legislation na lumilitaw dahil sa mga paratang sa kanya. Pero uulitin ko ulit kasi medyo mahaba pa naman ang pasensya ko. The hearing surfaced potential gaps in legislation, including the question of consent in rape and sexual abuse in the context of secretive religious organizations, secretive charismatic religious organizations, the treatment of religious volunteers in labor and occupational safety laws, and liabilities for human trafficking and other capital crimes when religious freedom is invoked. Proposed Senate Resolution number 884 actually mentioned with specificity the legislative purpose of the investigation and the desired reforms in our human trafficking laws. Pangalawa, on whether or not the resolution is incriminatory and violates the due process of respondent. Again, we never claim to be the judge. Hindi po hukom ang Senado. A Senate resolution has no effect and force of law and can make no such legal determination of guilt nor deprive anyone, including Quiboloy, of life, liberty, or property as a result of its material averments or findings. Dagdag pa, written and oral reports of legislators, including proposed Senate resolutions in the course of our duties, are protected speech and can, by their nature, be incendiary and provocative. Pangatlo, on whether or not the proper forum to hear the controversies surrounding the respondent is a court of law. Nag-rule na po ang Korte Suprema tungkol sa katulad na issue. In the 2009 case of Romero et al. Versus Estrada and Senate Committee on Labor and Employment, the Supreme Court said that despite the pendency of a criminal or administrative case, the Senate is allowed to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation and very clearly held that, quote, the court has no authority to prohibit a Senate committee from requiring persons to appear and testify before it in connection with an inquiry in aid of legislation in accordance with its duly established rules of procedure, close quote. Duly published rules of procedure. At pang-apat, on the propriety of setting aside the contempt order. Quiboloy is already in contempt. Hindi na po mababago yan. Nagkaroon ng objection, pinagbigyan alinsunod sa rules. Pero hindi pa rin nakabuo ng majority signatories. Kaya it is clear as day. My ruling is in motion. At mas lalong lumakas ang pangangailangang i-contempt siya dahil even after the March 5, 2024 contempt citation upheld on March 12, 2024, you to brazenly taunt and make a mockery of the committee and consequently the Philippine Senate by releasing through his supporters a list of 17 conditions before he appears. Sinubukan pa tayong linlangin ng abogado niya na si Atty. Topacio at tinawag pa na fake news. Pero si Quiboloy na din umamin. Quiboloy himself confirmed that he authorized the release of these conditions in a gikan sa masa para sa masa event with vloggers.
Hinamon ko siya, 17 ang hamon ko sa iyo, 17 conditions. Harapin mo yan. Kung di mo maharap yan, magdebate tayo dalawa. Wala dyan sa iyong court. Ang court mo kasi, nakatali ang kamay ng tao dyan eh. Parang boxing, pumunta ka, nakatali ang kamay. Kung basketball naman, kami sumusunod sa rules. Kayo walang rules. Doon naman sa boxing, siya ang boxer, siya ang referee, siya pa rin ang judge.
Oh. Siya panalo.
Siya panalo.
Pastor, may press con si si Senator.
This level of mockery
Hinamon ko siya, 17 ang hamon ko sa iyo, 17 conditions. Harapin mo yan. Kung di mo...
May kadagdagan ko dito lang kasi yung conditions for 17. Kasi parang tinatakot ako ni Hontiveros na ayaw. Tapos dito ako sa social media na parang ano ba yan, kung di ka magano o inibok, i-contempt and interested by kaya napilitan ako na magbigay ng 17 condition. Ang primero pwesto ng bukas, sinabi ko na sa kanila, those are criminal allegations. They are not supposed to be heard there in the Senate. Diretso ka na doon sa fiscal kasi meron naman kayang mga affidavit yan sinabi mo. Doon na yan, huwag na dito because you are overlapping with the judiciary functions and powers of the judiciary. You are not the judge. Number one, ayaw mo matapayot because you are not the judge. It should be in there. Sa pinilit niya, kasi parang matigas na nila siya dito, invoking his power there. So, nabigyan ko na 17 conditions. His power there. So, nabigyan ko na 17 conditions.
further confirms Quiboloy's undue refusal to appear before the committee pursuant to Section 18 of the Senate Rules. Considering all these, once again, a request for the Senate President to issue an arrest order against Apollo C. Quiboloy. He must show up. He must respect the institution of the Senate. Sa mga kasamahan ko sa Senado, huwag nating hayaan maliitin niya ang ating iniingatang institusyon. Kung hindi pa tayo manindigan sa kanyang tahasang pambabastos sa Senado, ewan ko na kung saan tayo pupulutin nito.
Okay, open tayo for questions. Sino po sumatanong? Chef Oris, yung formal request po na
Yung formal request to arrest? So kasalukuyan pong pinare-receive na sa abogado ni Quiboloy itong ruling of the committee. Once matanggap nila, i-follow up ko na yung sinabi ko nung huling committee hearing na request kay SP na ipaaresto na si Quiboloy.
Ma'am, ano lang, bigyan nyo lang kami ng walkthrough. So, pagka-request kay SP, meron po ba siyang given period, ilan yung at least araw para pirmahan ni SP yung order for arrest? And ano yung susunod po na mangyayari?
I think the given period ay nag-lapse na, yung non-extendable period of 48 hours para sumagot si Quiboloy dun sa show cause order. So at least nagawa na niya iyon. So any minute now, the Senate President, as soon as I follow up on my request to him, as soon as matanggap ng abogado ni Quiboloy itong ruling of the committee, any minute then, pwede na pong i-issue iyon.
Last na lang. Sabi ng Kamara, willing sila na ibigay sa inyo yung custody ni Quiboloy. Kayo po ba willing din kayo na dito na sa Senate? Do you feel na talagang masesecure or magagwardyan siya dito as compared sa House?
No need for comparisons, pero lagi dati kapag mayroong pina-appear o pina-aresto ang Senado, ay naalagaan silang lahat dito sa Senado. Ngayon ko lang narinig yung sinabing iyon ng House. Kung ganon ay wini-welcome ko po yun dahil isa na namang halimbawa ng interparliamentary courtesy na ibinibigay traditionally ng dalawang houses sa isa't isa.